So in the previous video we looked at different types of algebraic expressions. In this video we're going to look at translating words into algebraic expressions. Now remember that algebra is like the language of mathematics. It is able to be translated from English or from any other language into mathematics. Okay. So let's look at this. A certain number increased by 17. If I tell you that the dam levels have increased by 17 millimeters, then you know that they have gotten more by 17 millimeters. So you're going to add 17 to the original number. We don't know what that original number is. We usually call it x, but you can give it any number or any letter. So x plus 17. Okay, so a number increased by 17. The second example is a certain number decreased by 9. Alright, so say you got 80% for your project, but you handed it in late, and ma'am says, okay, your project mark is going to decrease by 9%. Now you have 80 minus 9, which is 71%. So you take your mark and you decrease it by 9. That's how it works. Okay, it can be any letter, but we usually call it x. The sum of a and b, sum means to add, and the sum of a and b. Okay. The difference between 2x and 6, difference means subtract 2x and 6 from each other. Okay, now we can also ask you something like subtract 6 from 2x, and you need to be very careful here. This is not 6 minus 2x, it's 2x minus 6, because we said from 2x. Okay, so you're taking away from 2x. Right, let's look at the product of 4x and negative 3y. Product means multiply, so we're multiplying in between. You can write this as 4x times negative 3y, or put a bracket around there as well. Okay, and you can even simplify this. You can say 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, and x times y is xy. But you don't need to do this. Alright, quotient means divide. So if x is divided by 2y, if x is divided by 2y. You can also write it as x divided by 2y, but we like writing it like this. Okay. Then they say 6 greater than x. Okay, greater than means to add. Okay, so we started with x and then we added 6 to it. Your teacher would also mark 6 plus x correct. But you don't have to write it like that. We prefer this. Alright. Let's have a look at a few more. 8 less than y. We started with y and took away 8. K more than 4. We started with 4 and added k. M less than 12. We started with 12 and subtracted m. 14 greater than 5y. We started with 5y and added 14 to that. Okay. 5x smaller than 8. We start with 8 and then we say, okay, the smaller number is 8 minus 5x. Okay, because we're taking away from 8. Twice y is 2 times y. Less than 7. So we started with 7 and took away twice y. Alright, just a few more. 8 less than 5 times x. Okay, so we start with 5 times x and we take away 8. Some of you may write it as 5 times x minus 8. And yes, in these cases, if I don't tell you that the order is not important, for example here, the order really isn't important. But if I don't tell you that the order is not important, then assume that the order is important. So it's not 8 minus 5x, it's 5x minus 8. Right, then the sum of 8 and k. The sum of 8 and k is this. You don't need to write it like this, you can say k plus 8 is divided by 6. Okay, so the entire sum is divided by 6. Okay, but the majority of you probably did this. 8 plus k divided by 6. But there's a problem here. We have to say it's the whole sum divided by 6. It must have brackets around it. Right. 9 is subtracted from 12x. 12x minus 9. Okay. From 6 times x. So from 6 times x, we subtract 5. Half of x, so x divided by 2, is added to twice y. You can also write this as 2y plus x over 2, or some of you may write 2y plus x divided by 2. Okay, all of that comes to the same thing. My preference is this or this. The square of x multiplied by 2. Okay, x squared multiplied by 2. That gives me 2x squared. I prefer this. Alright, the product of 3 and x. The product of 3 and x is that, and the product is squared. Alright, so the entire thing is squared. You can simplify this to 9x squared, but you don't have to. The square root of the difference between k and 4, okay? The difference between k and 4 looks like that. And we take the square root of the difference, the square root of the whole difference. Okay, and you can put brackets around here, but that is not necessary. If it's under a square root, it acts like brackets. The change if you buy Y Rand and pay with 200 Rand. So you paid with 200 Rand, you bought something worth Y Rand, and that's it. Okay, you can also write it as 200 Rand minus Y. Okay, a lot of you tend to do this. You say, okay, the change is 200 minus Y. We don't want you to do that. Please don't do that. Okay. To practice this, you're going to go to exercise 3 on page 83 of your grade 8 textbook.